Hi, all, and welcome to another Management Monday. I'm Miss Rudy, and I'm here to show you how we can enter in a community service entry for our journal into the AET. We're going to first start here by logging into the AET.com and selecting the yellow Ag Login button. Once you have selected the Ag Login button, we will first log into either your student or teacher ID. For the purpose of today, I'm going to be logging into the teacher ID, but you will need to log into your student. So the chapter number is capital P, capital A, 0158. And remember, your username and password should be the first initial of your first name capitalized, the first initial of your last name capitalized, and then the rest of your last name. Once you log into your AET, this is what your student dashboard should look like. For the purpose of today's assignment, we will be mainly focusing on the journal tab. So up on the top, you'll see 4 different tabs, which is profile, journal, finances, and reports. For today's purpose, you need to click on the journal tab. Once we have selected the journal tab, this is what should pop up. So you'll see 3 different sections here. One has our overview where our projects would be, and then the middle has where all the different journal entries can be. The community service entries can be entered in through the icon that has the heart with the hands. So we're going to click on that to create our entry for that. At this point, the Community Service tab has been selected, and this is what should pop up. So what you'll see here is the date, the type of entry, the section that has the title or where the recipient was. Then you'll have the Skills tab as well as a description on what you did in the project, time invested, and then the option of including a picture from the community service time itself. For our example community service today, I will be focusing on Trunk or Treat, which we held last November. So what I did here is I went up to the date section, clicked on the little calendar, and I backdated to November 1st, which is when we had our Trunk or Treat last year. Now this date will look a little bit different for you, which is completely fine, but just make sure that you are selecting the correct date of when you specifically did this community service. Because community service is the type of entry that we are doing, I'm not going to do anything to change what the type of entry is. However, I am going to go to this drop-down bar that says Bradley Gilliland Memorial Scholarship. I'm going to hit the drop-down menu to where it says Trunk or Treat. Now, if you did a community service for something outside of our organization, which I'm sure you likely have, you can just type in whoever that recipient is. So say you were doing this through your church, you would type in what your church's name is, or maybe you were doing it for the Woodland here in Orbizonia, so then you would put that as well. Once we have selected who the recipient was, we are then going to add a skill for this specific community service. So how we would do that is we would go to Add and Explore Skills. And once this is created, it should pop up with CRP or Career Ready Skills. And for the purpose of this journal entry, we are just going to be selecting the first one, which should be CRP 0101. When we have added our specific skill, it should showcase in red. So how we would do that is we would go to the green plus add button, hit add, it will show up red, and scroll up to the top to where it will say save and return and go back to our journal entry. So at this point, we should have our skill added in there as well as who the recipient was. So for the purpose of this, in your description, which is where we are moving to next, you need to give me a brief description here on what specifically you did. So as you can see in our example here for trunk or treat, I had a car and the back of my trunk I designated in a race car theme. And at trunk or treat, I made it a point to hand out candy to all of the kids who stopped by my car. And then I put in the total amount of kids that I helped, which ended up being 400. I then made sure to include how much time that I spent at the community service. So for trunk or treat last year, I put that I was there for 3 hours. So we are at the point in our journal entry where we should have all of the required aspects for our journal entry. So this includes the date, the recipient or what we did, the skill, our description, and our time invested. Now, if you were someone that wanted to add a picture, you would have had to share that picture to your email, download that to your computer, hit select here on your journal entry, and then pick our picture itself to add it in. But if you are someone that did not choose to do that, at this point you should be done, so you will need to hit save. Once you hit save on your journal entry, it should take you back to your journal student dashboard, which you will see here. However, I'm going to show you how you can double check that your entry did make it in. To check our journal entries, we would go to Review Journal Entries on the right-hand side under Project Experience Manager. For the purpose of our example student, it just showcases all of the journal entries that our person has in here. But in order to select where our community service is, if you go to the top right-hand side, there should be a drop-down box. And there, if you select that, you should be able to click on community service entries. On the left-hand side is the years in which all of the journal entries are. So if we are focusing on the year of 2024, which was last year when we had our trunk or treat, I would select the date range of 2024 to 2025. At this point, it should pop up with our journal entry for trunk or treat. So this leads us to the end of our assignment, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day. If you have any questions on this, please make sure that you reach out to Miss Rudy for any guidance. Thank you.